In France, the number of dead from coronavirus continues to rise, with nearly 600 deaths recorded in just 24 hours. Police are strictly enforcing the government's tough quarantine measures over the Easter holiday. In Paris, railway stations, airports and major roads will be monitored to prevent people leaving the city. Lucy Williamson reports.
It's not only nations that thrive on liberty, epidemics too. At stations across Paris today, every journey began with a police check. Freedom of movement, a new national threat. Do you have your piece of paper?
Of course. Ta-da-da. Yeah.
Johan made it through. He's on his way home to Brittany after 2 years abroad. But even the smallest mistake means being turned away.
I wrote the wrong date, not today's date, and they've told me I need to go back home to prepare another form. I have to go to work, but I can't.
France carried out almost 6 million checks during the first fortnight of confinement, far more than neighbouring Italy, and it's issued more than 400,000 fines. But questions over when the confinement will end are growing. France's tough approach to the confinement runs the risk of losing public support if it becomes too harsh or too long. The Interior Minister has advised sensitivity in applying the rules and says the police operate differently in the countryside compared to the big cities, in the poorer suburbs compared to the towns. But the Paris police chief was forced to apologise today after taking a very different tone.
The ones who are hospitalized today, the ones on life support now, are the ones that didn't respect the quarantine when it began. This is not a video game. It's real. There are dead people.
With few life support beds left in the Paris region, patients are being sent across the country for care. This is now the worst hit region of France, but is there light at the end of the tunnel?
If you asked me this question 2 days ago, I should say no. There is a reduction in patients who come to the emergency ward, and also the reduction of severe patients that came for a sign of COVID-19.
Hafid says there were no new admissions to intensive care in his hospital today, a first since the epidemic began. The first glimpse of hope here after weeks of fear and frustration, the first sign that confinement might have worked. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Paris.
Just wanted to bring you some up-to-date figures while we're talking about Europe. In Spain, the number of recorded deaths from coronavirus has fallen for a second successive day. So they peaked on Thursday so far with 950 deaths. The deaths overnight recorded Spain Friday into Saturday, 809. Total number of deaths in Spain now stands at 11,744, just behind Italy. Number of new cases in Spain also slowed slightly, with 7,026 people testing positive, taking the number who have the infection to just over 124,500.